They threw me a surprise party for my 21st birthday, but there was no cake, no gifts, just a printed wish list with 7 bills I was expected to pay. Mom smirked and said, "Grown men don't get cake, they get responsibility." Dad added, "Get used to discipline, son, you've got 30 days to pay." I just laughed, and soon after, I froze everything. But they didn't realize that was just the beginning of a big change. My name is Nate. I'm 21, the oldest, the quiet one who fixes the Wi-Fi, shovels the driveway, and keeps receipts in a shoebox because someone has to remember how the lights stay on. I work part-time at a hardware store, and take night classes for accounting. I like clean lines, groceries in the right shelf, gas tank at half before it hits E, alarms set in even numbers. In our house, respect means do it Mom's way, and discipline means do it Dad's way. If you ask them, I'm the responsible one. If you ask me, I'm the background music for their decisions. My sister Kayla, she's the headliner. She's creative and free-spirited, which has always meant someone else will pick up the tab. I grew up watching the ledger of our family tilt. When I was 15, I bought my own used phone from mowing lawns. Kayla got a new iPhone because girls need safety. When I was 17, I paid for my prom tux with tips from the store. Kayla got lashes, a spray tan, and a limo because it's once in a lifetime. When I started college, I paid cash for textbooks and cooked rice and eggs. Kayla took a gap year to heal. So, when Mom texted "be home at 6 o'clock for a surprise," I actually smiled. 21 is a big number. 2 decades and a bonus year. Maybe a cake, maybe a little speech about how I turned out steady, and she's proud in her quiet way. I walked in at 608, still in my red hardware polo. Balloons were tied to a chair, all one color, like they bought whatever was on sale. A banner said "Happy Birthday" in block letters. The table was set, but the oven wasn't on. No smell of anything baking. No candles. Kayla was on the couch scrolling, one leg tucked under her. Dad stood with his arms folded like a coach. "Surprise," Mom sang, and then handed me a manila folder with clip art on the cover. She'd printed the title in a big cheerful font. Nate's Adulting Wish List. I laughed on reflex. "Okay, what is this?" "Open it," Dad said. He sounded like he was about to grade me. Inside were 7 sheets stacked like a to-do list: water bill, cable, family phone plan, Dad's truck insurance, Kayla's last 2 months of program tuition, Grandma's prescription fund, and the HOA fee that had gone to collections after Dad forgot. Again, each page had a due date and a blank line next to amount paid by Nate _. At the bottom of the stack, in caps, 30 days. "Where's the cake?" I asked because I didn't know how else to stand there. Mom smiled tight. "Grown men don't get cake. They get responsibility." Dad nodded, satisfied. "Get used to discipline, son. You've got 30 days to pay." Kayla didn't look up. "It's so cute," she said, meaning the folder. Pinterest vibes. The house hummed. The fridge, the fish tank, the cheap string lights. Kayla never turned off. I looked at the 7 pages and saw 7 little doors into my future. All of them labeled mine now because I turned 21. "Is this a joke?" I said. My voice came out soft. "It always does first." Mom tilted her head. "It's love," she said. "We support each other. You're a man now." I rested the folder on the counter next to the paper plates and the plastic forks. There were no presents. There was a stack of napkins with balloons on them like the universe wanted the theme to make sense. Dad clapped me on the shoulder a little too hard. "Proud of you," he said like he'd already watched me sign something. "Happy birthday," Kayla added without looking away from her phone. Nothing blew up in that moment. No fight, no big scene. The trigger wasn't fireworks. It was a neat stack of printer paper with numbers on it and a smirk about cake. I stood there for a beat longer, feeling the old familiar assignments settling on me. The group project where I'm the only one who reads the prompt. I nodded because nodding is the language we speak here before anything is decided. Then I set the folder down like it was hot and asked, "Do we have any ice?" Kayla snorted. Mom raised an eyebrow. Dad said, "Ice is for children. You're a grown man." The house still hummed. My stomach did, too. I pulled out a chair and sat. I stared at the banner. Happy birthday, big block letters, no exclamation mark. It looked honest. Flat. Okay, I said. Let's eat. But there was nothing to eat. Just the wish list on the table and the sound of the freezer running hard in a kitchen where the cake never existed. I didn't say no that night. Not yet. I swallowed. I smiled with my mouth closed. I watched everyone play their parts. The folder waited. The clock did too. The first trigger had already fired. It just sounded like a printer. The money thing didn't start with 7 bills. It started with the family plan. It'll be cheaper if we put everyone on your account. Mom said when I got my first debit card at 18. You're good with apps. It was $180 a month for 4 lines. Temporary, she said. Temporary became, you're so organized. Then Dad's truck insurance just for a couple months because my card's in flux. Add $142. Then the water bill because the login is your email anyway. $58. Then $62. Then $71 when the city raised rates. Then Netflix since you watch it even though I didn't. $1,549. Little things that all had the same shape, my name, their lives. Kayla called money energy. She posted quotes about abundance and said, "The universe provides," while demanding me screenshots of overdue notices. "Can you front it?" she'd ask. "I'll VMO you later." Later slid into never, then into, wow, don't be weird about money. At 16, I signed my first family agreement. Dad printed it from the library. It said room and board for son at the top, $200 a month. He said it would teach me discipline. When I asked what it covered, he said everything. And when I asked for a receipt, he laughed until Mom told me I was being clinical. I paid anyway. He used my PS4 as collateral once when I was a week late. It vanished into we needed gas. I learned to hide cash in the dryer lint trap. My job at the hardware store came with favors. Dad wanted tools on discount because we put food in your mouth. Mom wanted a space heater. Kayla wanted paint for a mural project. The store manager started side-eyeing me like I was skimming. I started saying we can't do that. Dad said I was getting arrogant. School ate the rest. I did community college because it was what I could afford. I took accounting because numbers don't cry and tell you you're cruel. Dad mocked it. Bean counter. He said you'll get soft. Mom called me our little calculator when I wouldn't cosign Kayla's car loan. Kayla called me a banker when I asked for the $83 she borrowed for oat milk and gas. There were little scenes that stacked into a pattern. At dinner, the bill would land and Dad would point at me without looking up. Nate's got it. At Christmas, Kayla got AirPods, I got socks, and a lecture about investing. When Grandma's fridge broke, Mom ended the group chat debate with, "Nate will fix it." I did. I put the new fridge on my card. When Grandma tried to hand me cash, Mom scolded her and said, "We're not a ledger." I am, though. I can't help it. I kept a note on my phone with dates and amounts. I never sent it to anyone. I told myself it wasn't a weapon. It was proof that I wasn't dreaming. The wish list for my birthday was just the tidy version of what we already were. 0.7 bills with amounts. Water $71. Cable/internet $119. Family phones, 4 lines, $180. Dad's truck insurance, $142. Kayla's program tuition, 2 months, $1,200. Total. Grandma's prescriptions, $94. HOA late fee and current dues, $436. Subtotal scribbled in Mom's neat math teacher handwriting, $2,242. Due dates circled, 30 days to pay, written in Dad's block letters like a drill sergeant's countdown. I asked why Kayla's tuition was on there. Mom said she has to finish her certification. Kayla said healing isn't linear and the program had a graduation ceremony that comes with a white robe and a rented folding chair in a hotel ballroom. She'd already posted the robe on her Instagram story with soon. Dad said a man provides for his family and looked at me the way he looks at the TV when the quarterback throws to the wrong guy. There was also the truck. Dad had a refinance lined up if I would just co-sign for a better rate. He dropped that in casually while handing me the folder. It's not like we wouldn't pay it. He said it's for the family. The last time he said family like that, my credit got a hard inquiry. I didn't authorize. He called me dramatic and said I should be proud of a high limit. Mom likes to do meetings. She sat me down 2 days after the party with a legal pad. Let's make a plan, she said. You can take the phone bill, the water, the HOA, and grandma's meds. Dad will handle the truck insurance if you co-sign the refinance. Kayla will pay her tuition back when she launches her practice. She said practice like Kayla was a dentist. Kayla nodded solemnly like an expert on something you can't Google. I asked, what about cake? It slipped out. I didn't mean to say it. Mom's mouth pinched. We're talking about adults, she said. Adults who eat, I said. Dad leaned back. Smart mouth, he said. Smart mouths don't pay bills. Actually, I said quietly. They do. Kayla rolled her eyes so far back. I saw the whites like a magic trick. Money is energy, she said. Yours is so tight. I'm saving for a used Honda, I said. I'm saving for a deposit. I'm saving to not be a walking ATM with chores. Mom tapped her pen. Don't be crass, she said. This is family. There was a Sunday where the whole thing turned mean in that sideways way we do. Aunt Linda came over and we had spaghetti. Dad joked loud so everyone could hear. Nate's going to be the new head of household. People laughed. I laughed too because my body knows to laugh when it's outnumbered. Later, while I did the dishes, Aunt Linda said, "You're so blessed to be useful." She squeezed my shoulder. I wiped a plate and thought about how useful sounds like shovel. The pressure wasn't the bills themselves. It was the shape of the ask. It was that I was supposed to be grateful for the opportunity to prove I was a man by taking on 7 debts I didn't create. It was that they were counting on my quiet. The night after the party, Mom slid the folder toward me again while Dad flipped channels. Kayla practiced her graduation walk in the hallway wearing the white robe she hadn't paid for. Mom's voice was syrup. We'll all feel better when this is handled, she said. I looked at the pages. I pictured how easily those lines would turn into more lines. How the list would become a subscription. How my 21 would turn into 25 then 30 with reminders punctuated by "we raised you and you owe us." I didn't flip the table. I didn't make a speech. I just said I need to think. Dad smirked. 30 days. He said men don't need longer. Kayla paused in the doorway and took a selfie with my face in the background. The caption popped up a second later on her story. Adulting vibes. No cake, 7 bills, a timer I didn't set, but everyone heard. I went to my room and sat on the edge of my bed. I counted my cash and looked at my checking app. I opened my notes and scrolled through the ledger of little helps turned permanent. $20 here, $83 there, $142, $180, $436. Numbers that built a staircase going nowhere. I wanted to climb. The problem wasn't money. It was ownership. They wanted mine. And they wanted it with a smile. 2 days later, Mom scheduled a family check-in like we were a startup. Sunday at 5 o'clock, she put it on the fridge calendar with a star and a smiley face. Bring your plan, the sticky note said. At 5, the living room looked like a meeting room. Chairs pulled into a circle, legal pads, pens. Kayla brought tea in mismatched mugs. Dad sat with his legs wide, elbows on knees like a football coach before a pep talk. The folder was in the center again. 7 pages waiting under the weight of a ceramic coaster. Mom opened with, "We love you," which, in our house, is the preface to an invoice. I set my phone face down. My heart beat hard, but my hands were steady. I'd spent the morning at the library reading about cosigning, about liability, about HOAs and late fees that stick to your name like gum. I'd also read about freezing your credit. Not yet, but I knew. Mom gestured with her pen. Here's what makes sense. Nate takes water, cable, and phones. He's already handling it, so no change there. He also picks up the HOA because he's good at forms. Dad will take his truck if Nate cosigns the refinance. No, I said. Silence. You could hear the clock. Dad blinked slow. What? No, I repeated. I'm not cosigning anything. I'm not financing Kayla's program. I'm not adopting the HOA. I'm not the family purse. Mom's smile froze like a screensaver. Sweetheart, I'm not your sweetheart. When there's paperwork, I said, still calm. I'm Nate and I'm not signing. Kayla scoffed. So selfish. It's just a signature. It isn't, I said. It's joint and several liability. It's my credit. It's my name on your debts. It's me paying when you don't. I'm not doing that. Dad leaned forward. Watch your tone. This is my tone, I said. It's calm. Mom tried for soft. We won't ask for anything else if you help us through this season. You said that last season, I said. And the one before. We raised you, Dad said. We fed you and I paid room and board since 16. I said you took my PS4 as rent. You put your truck insurance on my card. You called me arrogant when I said I needed receipts. Kayla made a noise like a bark. Wow. So, you were keeping score? Yes, I said, and let it sit because I'm the one paying the bill. Dad slapped his knee. Real men don't nickel and dime family. Real men don't hand their son a bill instead of a cake. I said, real men pay their own truck insurance. Mom's eyes flashed. Don't talk to your father like that. He's talking to me like I'm a wallet. I said, I'm talking back. Kayla crossed her arms, robe slipping off one shoulder in a practiced way. My graduation is in 2 weeks, she said. You're ruining it. No, I said. Debt is ruining it. Choices are ruining it. My no is just clear. This feels like you're pressuring me. Mom said, you're punishing us for not being like you. This isn't about revenge, I said. This is about closure. The words hung there. I meant them. I wasn't slamming a door. I was stepping out of a role I never agreed to. Dad stood and loomed because looming is supposed to make me smaller. You think you smart because you read some articles, he said. You think you can walk away from family? You can't. I'm not walking away. I said I'm walking out of your budget. Mom's voice turned sharp. Then you're banned from Thanksgiving, from Christmas, from this house until you remember who did everything for you. I looked at the folder, the 7 sheets, the line where my name was supposed to go. I remember, I said. I also remember the PS4, the room and board, the phone plan, the truck insurance, the time you used my debit card and said I was lucky to be useful. Kayla rolled her eyes so hard I thought she'd sprain something. Do you want a medal? No, I said I want a boundary. Dad laughed. That mean laugh? That means the conversation is over for him. Boundary, he said like it was a soft word. Here's a boundary. You've got 30 days to pay. I stood. My legs felt normal. Here's mine, I said. No. Mom's face crumpled and then pulled tight again. You'll regret this, she said. Maybe, I said, But not as much as I regret not saying it sooner. I picked up my phone. I didn't take the folder. I didn't slam anything. I walked to the door. Caleb muttered drama. Like I'd flipped a table. I put my hand on the knob, paused, and turned back. If you need to talk about Grandma's meds, I said quietly. Call me directly. I'll help her. Not the HOA, not the truck, not the program. I'll help Grandma. The rest is no. You don't get to choose. Dad said, I do. I said, it's my name. I left. The hallway smelled like someone's dinner and cheap detergent. Downstairs, a neighbor's kid rode a scooter. The sky was pink like a cliché, and for once I didn't roll my eyes at it. I felt not free yet, but steady. The line was drawn. The meeting ended without applause. The folders stayed on their table. My name stayed in my mouth. Back in my room that night, I sat at my desk and opened my laptop. The blue of the screen felt like a clean sheet of paper. I didn't make speeches to myself. I made moves. First, I froze my credit. 3 bureaus. I read the steps twice to make sure I wasn't rushing. Equifax, Experian, TransUnion, security pins, confirmation emails. The pop-ups were dramatic. Are you sure? I clicked yes 3 times. I wrote the pins on an index card and put them in my shoebox of receipts. Second, I removed authorized users. Mom had borrowed my card for points. Dad had the number in case of emergency, which turned out to include truck tires and a chainsaw. I called the bank and asked for a new number. Any pending charges? The rep asked. 2. She said, 1 for Urban Nails, 1 for Gas and Go. I said, cancel the card. Replacement in 3 to 5 days. I set up notifications for everything over $1. Third, I logged into the cell plan. 4 lines, 1 account mine. I paid the current balance because I didn't want to shut the phones off out of cruelty. Then I scheduled a plan change for the end of the cycle, my line only. I sent Mom a screenshot of the transfer link and wrote, you'll need to open your own account by the 28th. She replied in 3 seconds, how dare you? I put my phone face down and kept going. Fourth, I unlined the water bill. That one was messy because the city site looks like it was built before I was born. I changed the autopay to manual, removed my card, and emailed the transfer form to Mom and the HOA board's generic address with the subject account transfer request effective this cycle. ICC Dad. I printed the email and stapled it to the original bill and slid it into the shoebox. Fifth, subscriptions, Netflix, Hulu Prime. I changed the passwords and logged out of all devices. The TV downstairs pinged me with your account has been signed out. 5 texts arrived in a minute. Kayla, WTF. Mom, petty. Dad, childish. I replied to none. It wasn't punishment. It was housekeeping. Sixth, the gas card Dad set up for family emergencies. I called and closed it. The rep asked why. Because it's not my emergency, I said. She laughed, then coughed like she wasn't supposed to. Seventh, the bank. I moved my savings $5.320 into an online bank with a name that sounded like a startup. I turned on 2-factor for everything and changed my email password from the lazy thing I set at 14 to a string that looks like I fell asleep on the keyboard. I made a spreadsheet titled Exit with 4 columns. Account, action, date, confirm, hashtag. I filled it in as I went. It felt like building a small raft while the tide turned. Click confirm note. Click confirm note. The phone lit up with numbers that went up like the stock market. 12 missed calls. 1931, the group chat flooded. Mom used full sentences with my full name. Dad went with short words in caps. Kayla posted a black screen on her story that said, people show who they are when you need them. Her followers left hearts. I felt nothing and then guilty for feeling nothing. At 10:42 p.m., Dad called. I answered because I wanted him to hear my voice when I said no again. What did you do? He demanded. I protected my credit, I said. I removed my cards. I stopped paying for services I don't use. You froze your credit? He said like I keyed his truck. Are you insane? No, I said. Sane is not handing you a pen. This is conflict. It's housekeeping. I said, if you want your own plan, open your own plan. If you want your own truck insurance, pay your own truck insurance. We're your family. You are. I said, you are not my creditors. He hung up. A second later, Mom called. I let it go to voicemail. A minute later, Kayla, then Mom again. Then unknown caller. I turn on Do Not Disturb for everyone except Grandma. Grandma texted at 11:05. Honey, are you okay? Love you. I called her back. I told her I was fine. I told her I'd help with her prescriptions directly. No middleman, no IUs. She said, okay, dear. In that way, that means she knows more than she says. I slept not great. Up at 2:13, 3:27, the kind of night where your brain replays a meeting you already left. At 7 o'clock, 43 missed calls. At 7:15, a knock like a police show. Dad at my door. I didn't open. He texted, coward. I texted back, boundary. He replied, big words won't save you. I typed and erased 4 different comebacks, then put the phone down. Not everything needs an answer. I went to work. I stocked screws. I cut keys. I carried salt for a woman with a minivan. At lunch, Mike from Electrical asked, you good? I told him the short version. He nodded like a man who's done the math in his own life. You want a room? He asked. My roommate moves out next month. I stared at my sandwich. A door swung open in my chest. How much? I asked. $600 plus utilities. Month to month. I thought about the shoebox, the spreadsheet, the folder. I thought about the banner without an exclamation mark. I'll take it, I said. That night, I packed without ceremony. Clothes, the shoebox, the laptop, the mug I actually like. I left the trophies from Little League and a handprint art from 2nd grade because those belonged to the version of me who believed every temporary. I wrote a note that said, I will contact Grandma about her meds. Do not come to my job. Nate, I taped it to the inside of my old closet where Mom would see. Are it when she went to organize my life? Mom called at 9:03. Family meeting tomorrow. 7 non-negotiable. I texted back. I won't be there. Dad, you will. Me? No. Oh, Kayla, you're ruining my grad. Me? I'm not financing it. Silence like a storm cloud that doesn't know where to drop. I changed my number the next day. Not out of spite, out of sleep. I texted the new one to Grandma, to Mike, to my boss. I stood in line at the DMV and changed my address. I bought a $30 cake from the grocery store bakery on the way to Mike's place and stuck a 21 candle in it and lit it with a match in a new kitchen that didn't know my family's voices. I cut myself a slice. It tasted like sugar and relief. 2 days later, a certified letter arrived at Mike's from the HOA, addressed to me at my old address. Somehow forwarded by a miracle of bureaucracy. Past due $436. I took a photo. I forwarded it to the HOA with the transfer email attached. I CC Mom and Dad. Subject, wrong party. Transfer request already sent. I clicked send and felt nothing dramatic, just a click. There were still messages. Aunt Linda left a voice note about forgiveness. Mom tried a softer tone. We can undo this if you just come home. Dad sent a photo of his truck like, that would move me. Caleb posted the white robe again and a caption, some people don't clap. Clap for yourself. I didn't clap. I did laundry. I went to work. I made a budget that had 3 lines. Rent $600, utilities $90, savings $300. The rest mine. For the first time, the math felt like my mouth. The big change wasn't dramatic. It was a series of small, boring decisions that my old life never let me make. It was not picking up when the call said unknown. It was telling Mike I'd clean the bathroom on Tuesdays and actually doing it. It was buying a cheap planner and writing my own due dates in my own handwriting. It was answering Grandma's call every time. A week later, Mom texted from a different number. "If you signed the refinance, you can come to Thanksgiving." I replied, "I'll be with friends." She wrote, "We won't forget this." I typed, "Me either." Then I put my phone on the table and poured myself water from a tap in a place where the bill didn't have my parents' names on it at.